Yo, what's going on, everybody? I'm Akeem Lawanson, and in today's Fix of Entertainment news, I'll be breaking down how HBO's The Last of Us can avoid the various mistakes AMC's The Walking Dead made in its 11-season run on television, Fear the Walking Dead finally coming to an end, and an actor from the Black Panther 2 movie wins a major award at the Golden Globes. Let's drop it. We're gearing up for HBO's The Last of Us, and with the early reviews, interviews from both showrunner Craig Mazin and director Neil Druckmann, it seems as though we'll be getting a very faithful adaptation of the Naughty Dog video game series, aside from tendrils spreading the zombie infection as opposed to spores. But you know what? That's a very minor change to a seemingly solid adaptation of the franchise. Now, one comparison that's sure to be drawn is to the Walking Dead series, which recently ended its 11-season run last year. Now, much like HBO's The Last of Us, AMC's The Walking Dead had a clear blueprint the showrunners and writers could have used to steer the story arcs and plots. But creator Robert Kirkman was open to the writers of The Walking Dead series changing his source material how they saw fit. That's a bad move in my opinion. In fact, Kirkman said in a Q&A panel hosted by Hey Fandom back in 2020, referring to the writers picking apart his source material, quote, "It seems like it's an absolute nightmare, but it was really great and rewarding to have them go, this story worked because of this, and we can change this way because of that, and this really worked well, and we can make it better by adding this." But for anyone that actually watched the long-running AMC series, there seem to be more subtractions than additions, like the removal of Carl Grimes' character back in season 8. Like, they killed off a very pivotal character to the Walking Dead series, one that lived well through the final pages of the comic book run. Now, Kirkman allowing the very foundation he built to be torn down and played with was a detriment to the series, which is why there was a significant drop-off in viewership. Now, HBO's The Last of Us can avoid this by staying true to the source material and keeping fans of the franchise excited for what's to come, even if we might already know what to expect given the games. Now, messing with what's already been established and creating stories well beyond its source material really killed the Walking Dead franchise for a lot of fans. But it seems we won't have to worry about that with The Last of Us. In fact, Neil Druckmann told The Hollywood Reporter that, quote, "We have no plans to tell any stories beyond adapting the games. We won't run into the same issue as Game of Thrones since The Last of Us Part 2 doesn't end on a cliffhanger. And with sticking to adapting the games only, we likely won't get a lot of seasons of The Last of Us, which is honestly fine. Aside from changing a lot of things fans remember from the comics, The Walking Dead stuck around longer than it really needed to. And the viewership declined possibly due to zombie fatigue amongst fans. And according to review ratings data collected by IMDb by Broadband Choices, the Walking Dead series saw a sharp drop-off in viewership after the 7th season premiere episode where Negan killed both Abraham and Glenn. In the comics, Negan only executed Glenn, so what was the point of killing off Abraham aside from cannon fodder? Like, it was shocking, yes, but for all the wrong reasons. And then Carl was killed off in season 8 after being bitten by a walker, which many considered to be poor writing given his comic book counterpart. In season 9, Rick Grimes was written off the show, and seasons 10 and 11 came and went with a whimper. Now, this is coming from a hardcore Walking Dead fan and zombie enthusiast. Like, I love all things zombie related, but I'm also someone who likes to see adaptations done right in the eyes of the fans. Now, obviously, one of the many things that makes a live show more complicated than a comic is having to account for the schedules and availability of actors, which I imagine had some impact on The Walking Dead's decisions, but still. Like, Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann can avoid the pratfalls of The Walking Dead by not doing things like prolonging storylines to exhaustion and killing off important characters for the sake of shock value. Although the latter part of that statement will inevitably happen at some point in the HBO series given the video games. But it'll be intentional and not because a bunch of writers in a room sat around thinking up ways they could change the source material to give viewers something unexpected for the sake of shock value. The Walking Dead just became AMC's money-making machine with all the different spin-offs it was given, which devalues the franchise and makes it seem as though you're no longer creating shows in this universe to appease the fandom, but more or less so you can make a quick buck off the namesake of the franchise. And I'll tell you right now, if Abby from The Last of Us gets her own spin-off series at some point, then there will indeed be riots in the streets. But anyway, what are your thoughts on The Last of Us, and how do you think it can avoid the mistakes of The Walking Dead? Let's talk about it down below. And while we're at it, Fear the Walking Dead is finally ending its 8-season run on AMC. Now, the series will consist of 12 episodes, with the first block rolling out in May. Now, with that announcement, the Walking Dead universe is continuing to grow, with The Walking Dead Dead City, which will take place in New York City, and The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon, which will take place in Paris. The Walker Apocalypse is going international, baby! And the Rick and Michonne series is still happening, set to debut in 2024. And finally, shout out to Angela Bassett for winning Best Supporting Actress at the Golden Globes for her role in Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Now, she's the first actor from a Marvel movie to win a major award, which is quite the achievement and speaks to her portrayal of Wakandan Queen Ramonda. Now, she also gave a very heartfelt speech and honored the late Chadwick Boseman. Now, anyone that's seen the movie would agree she gave the performance of the year in that particular film. And that about does it for your entertainment fix for today. I'm Akeem Lawanton, and thank you so much for watching. Now that you're caught up on today's news, please check out our previous episode. Download the IGN app on all your devices, and for everything else, stick with IGN.